today, the greatest day in my history. I stand before you today as a changed man. What you see on the outside may not appear particularly different, but what is on the inside is a radical transformation of the man I was just a few short months ago. I want to share with you a little of what has brought me here today. I grew up in a Christian household and for the first part of my life went to church on and off. Sadly, the more I had to do with church, the more I didn't want to be a part of it. The best thing about church for me at the time was the fact that I met my wife Rachel there. Unfortunately, even that turned to sadness as we were too young to cope with the pressures brought on us by the various goings-on associated with the church. We were together for 2 years and then we went our separate ways. Neither of us wanted that, but that's the way it worked out. I left home at the age of 17 to train as an aircraft engineer with British Airways, and 6 years later I was fully licensed avionics engineer, working for Thomas Cook. I travelled a lot, I worked hard and I played hard. The money was plentiful and so were the pleasures the world had to offer. In my late 20s, unfulfilled by the life I was living, I had the plan to start my own business as an electrician. Maybe that would make my life complete. I left the aircraft industry and worked for Seaboard whilst gaining the qualifications I needed to go it alone. When I was at the point where I was nearly ready to start my business, I left my home in Billingshurst, West Sussex, and drove to a training centre in Burgess Hill. That evening, about an hour after leaving the training centre, I found myself parked outside Rachel's house in Harley-Shoot, Hastings. Wasn't expecting that. Nobody was home, and I was minutes away from leaving, not really knowing why I was there in the first place. At that moment, Rachel arrived home from work. She hadn't seen who was in the car outside. I got out, walked down the drive, and our eyes met. She looked like she'd seen a ghost and then realised it was me. She wasn't expecting that. One look into her eyes and my love for her returned like a blazing fire. I stayed the evening and then returned to Billingshurst. The months passed and we got engaged. It wasn't all plain sailing. My family all but disowned me, and to this day, sadly will not accept Rachel as part of my life, and they have not met their grandchildren. Within a year of being married, Stephen was unexpectedly on his way, soon to be followed by Matthew. We went through difficult times. Rachel suffered with years of depression. I had either too much or too little work in the way of work. We struggled with our relationship and with family relationships. But somehow we made it through. Rachel's faith was still strong, so we often went to church together and with the boys as our family grew. I wanted so much to be able to believe and trust in the God that she did, and that many other people I have been surrounded by did, that things just didn't click into place for me. I searched Google for proof of God, for irrefutable evidence of his existence, but found none. I picked up my Bible once in a while and I read it. It made little sense to me. 6 years ago, we came to Halton. This is where everything began to change. We were welcomed into what I can only describe as the family. People loved and supported us and our boys. I felt like I finally found what I imagined a proper church family to be. The years passed and I learned a lot about God and I read a lot about God, but I still didn't feel God. I saw people up the front here who undeniably had a fire burning in them for Jesus. One day when we got home after Sue Matthews had been preaching, I said to Rachel, I want what she has. I really did. I longed for it. There was a peace that I saw in her and a love for God that she clearly felt through and through. I kept on searching Google for the convincer, but still didn't find it. I now believe that what I was looking for simply doesn't exist. It was all other people's feelings and experiences, but nothing that was personal to me, nothing that reached me on a personal level. In August of this year, when Rachel lost her grandfather, I saw changes in her, deep changes that I could never have imagined possible. I couldn't explain them, but I did know that she'd been on the hotline to God more often than normal. My desire, my need to answer the question of whether or not God was truly real was aroused once again. I watched a few Christian TV shows with her, and I continued to watch the changes in her. One night, I stumbled across a website where a man was telling the story of a dream he had. He was in a field with a fence down the middle. On one side was all of God's people, and on the other side was Satan's. The man was standing on the fence when all of a sudden he found himself alone. Shortly after, Satan came back and said, "There you are." He spoke to Satan and said, "Hold on, I didn't choose him, and I certainly didn't choose you." "Oh yes you did," Satan replied. "The fence is mine." In the blink of an eye, the penny dropped. God is real, which I was open to believing that he was, then there was nothing more important than getting myself off the fence. I went to my office, I knelt down, and I prayed like I never had before. If you're a real God, I pray to you that you will reveal yourself to me. Reveal yourself in such a way that I cannot deny you. The transformation in my life since that day has been nothing short of miraculous. For many years I've been trying and failing to make time for my wife, my children and my friends. I now have this time. I'm on top of my business affairs to such an extent that I now have something that I've not had for many years, free time. And I'm able to enjoy that free time without work pressures clouding my mind. I found time to read the Bible, and I've found time to spend in prayer each and every day. The Bible has come alive, and I thirst for it. It is reading me daily. Sometime after my initial prayer, I found myself back in my office, on my knees again, welcoming God into my life, asking that he would show me how to truly love, to give me patience, compassion, wisdom and understanding. True to his word, he is showing me how to love, not just my family and friends, but others too. I find myself listening more than I'm talking. I have compassion for people that I've never had in my whole life. I no longer feel like the victim, and I've become so very aware of my responsibility to lead my family as the man God wants me to be, and to lead them in his ways. The list goes on and on. I know I have a lot to learn, but I now fully trust that as I open my heart and my life to him, he will guide me and he will teach me. I'm learning to live not by how I feel, but by the truth of God's promises. I have a hope for the future, and am excited to discover God's plan for my life. I've repented one by one of all my many sins, and I stand on the truth that says, I am loved and I am forgiven. Every day I take my sins to the cross, and I continue to stand on that truth. I stand here today unashamed to declare that I have given my life to God, that he is my Lord and he is my Saviour. Finally, I want to thank all of you who have been part of the journey and look forward to continuing that journey with you. May God pour out his blessings on all of you.
Later on, there are 3 questions which I normally ask. I need to today. That's brilliant. Do you know, there was just something went through my head as I was sitting there listening, standing there listening, and it's just, this is worth waiting for, isn't it? I mean, I know we joke about it. We've been saying to each other, I can't get baptised, but wasn't that worth waiting for? And aren't we foolish for being so patient? We're going to sing a song and then we'll go on with the baptism. Turn your eyes upon Jesus.